Hi, I'm Lauren, and before I jump into this crazy story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me, you won't want to miss this wild adventure. Now, let me tell you a bit about myself. I'm a 35-year-old single mom, working hard to give my daughter, Kelly, the best life I possibly can. I work as a paralegal, and it's just been the two of us ever since her dad, Scott, decided that being a father wasn't for him. He left when Kelly was just 4 years old. Kelly is 18, and she's the light of my life. She's smart, kind, and beautiful, both inside and out. I'm so proud of the person she's becoming. Recently, Kelly told me about something that made her really excited. Prom. One day after school, she came running into the house with the biggest smile on her face. "Mom, Larry asked me to prom," she squealed. Of course, I was thrilled for her. I hugged her tight and said, "That's amazing, sweetie. We need to find you the perfect dress for the big night." Little did I know, that dress would end up causing a lot more drama than I ever could have imagined. Now, there's something you should know about our family situation. Even though Scott has been out of the picture for years, his mom, Julie, and his sister, Evelyn, are still very much a part of our lives. Don't ask me why, it's complicated. Let's just say that dealing with Julie and Evelyn is about as enjoyable as going to the dentist and getting a root canal without any painkillers. They're not exactly the warmest, most supportive people in the world, but somehow, they're still around. When Kelly mentioned prom during one of our monthly family dinners, you should have seen the looks on Julie and Evelyn's faces. Julie, my ex-mother-in-law, pursed her lips in disapproval, and you could just feel the judgment radiating off her. "Prom?" she asked, her voice dripping with disapproval. "Isn't that a bit of a waste of time?" Evelyn, my ex-sister-in-law, was quick to chime in too. "Yeah. Shouldn't you be focusing on your college applications instead?" she asked, giving Kelly one of her famous judgmental looks. I was biting my tongue so hard, trying not to explode. But Kelly, bless her, held her ground. "I can do both, and Evelyn," she said calmly. "And I'm really excited about prom." The tension in the room was thicker than Julie's infamous meatloaf, but I was proud of how Kelly handled it. Later, when we went shopping for a dress, Kelly found the most beautiful blue gown. It made her eyes light up, and she looked so happy. "Mom, it's perfect," she said, her face glowing with excitement. Then I looked at the price tag, and my heart sank a little. It was definitely more expensive than I had hoped. But seeing the joy on Kelly's face made it all worth it. "You're going to be the belle of the ball, sweetie," I told her as I swiped my credit card. I knew in that moment that this was something she would remember forever, and I didn't want anything to ruin it for her. Later, we showed Julie and Evelyn the dress. Their reactions? Well, let's just say they weren't exactly positive. Julie sniffed. "It's a bit revealing, don't you think?" Evelyn, never missing a chance to criticize, added, "And that color? It's not really your best, Kelly." I could see the excitement drain from Kelly's face, and my blood was boiling. How could they be so negative about something that was making her so happy? I took a deep breath and said, "I think she looks absolutely beautiful." That moment was a real eye-opener for me. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shield Kelly from their negativity. But I realized something important. Kelly is strong. She can stand up for herself, and she knows her worth. Despite the drama, she's going to shine, and nothing Julie or Evelyn says can take that away from her. Prom is a special time, and I'm determined to make sure Kelly feels as beautiful and confident as she deserves. No matter what anyone else thinks, this is her moment, and I'm so proud to be by her side. As we move forward, I know there will be more challenges, but we'll face them together, just like we always have. Over the next few weeks, Kelly was totally caught up in all things prom. She and her friends spent hours talking about corsages, limos, and after-parties. The excitement was contagious, but every time Julie or Evelyn, my ex-mother-in-law and ex-sister-in-law, were around, they couldn't help but make snide remarks. Evelyn would throw in comments like, "You're not wearing heels, are you? You'll tower over poor Larry." Or Julie would say, "I hope you're not planning to stay out too late." It wasn't easy watching them chip away at Kelly's happiness. I didn't want to step in too much, thinking that Kelly could handle herself. But as time went on, I could see their negativity was getting to her. Every time they made one of those comments, I saw her confidence drop a little more. The night before prom finally arrived, and Kelly was a mix of nerves and excitement. We spent the evening getting ready for the big day, doing her nails, hair, and going over last-minute details. It was supposed to be a fun bonding time, but I could tell Kelly was anxious. "Mom, what if something goes wrong?" she fretted, her face full of worry. I squeezed her hand and said, "Nothing's going to go wrong. Tomorrow is going to be perfect." As I carefully hung up her beautiful blue prom dress, making sure it was wrinkle-free for the next day, I had no idea just how wrong I was. Sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones who end up hurting you the worst. That evening, I realized we were missing a few items: hairspray, bobby pins, the usual last-minute things. Julie and Evelyn, surprisingly, offered to come over and help Kelly with some of the final preparations while I ran to the store. It was an unexpected offer. "That's really nice of you," I said, trying to hide my surprise. I didn't entirely trust their sudden enthusiasm, but I wanted to believe they were finally being supportive. As I left, I saw them heading upstairs with Kelly. A small voice inside me told me something wasn't right, but I ignored it, wanting to believe that everything was fine. Little did I know, that decision would lead to a night I'd never forget, and not in a good way. I rushed through the store, excited to get back home and finish our fun night of prom prep. I even grabbed some of Kelly's favorite snacks as a little surprise. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed something strange. Julie and Evelyn's cars were still there. That was odd. I had expected them to leave by now. I quietly entered the house, hoping to surprise Kelly. As I climbed the stairs, I heard hushed voices coming from her room. My heart began to race. And then, I heard the unmistakable sound of scissors snipping. A sinking feeling hit me, and I crept closer to Kelly's room, my pulse quickening with each step. When I pushed open the door, nothing could have prepared me for what I saw. There, in the middle of the room, stood Julie and Evelyn, scissors in hand. Blue fabric scraps were scattered around them, and on the bed lay my daughter's beautiful prom dress cut into pieces. My heart dropped. "What the hell are you doing?" I screamed, dropping the shopping bags in shock. Julie and Evelyn spun around, their faces pale, as they stared at me. "Lauren, we were just..." Evelyn stammered, her voice shaking. "Just what?" I shouted, my voice shaking with anger and disbelief. "Destroying my daughter's dress? Have you completely lost your minds?" Julie, still holding the scissors, looked like a deer caught in headlights. "We were just trying to help," she said weakly, but her words only fueled my rage. "Help? How is cutting up Kelly's dress supposed to help?" I demanded, feeling my blood boil. All I could think about was how hard Kelly had worked to make this night special, how much she had been looking forward to it. And now, her dress, the dress she had fallen in love with, was ruined, thanks to these two. Julie tried to defend herself, mumbling something about how the dress was too revealing and how they thought it was best to make some adjustments, but I wasn't hearing any of it. I was too furious. How could they do this to her? How could they take something so special and destroy it? As I stood there, staring at the wreckage of the dress, I realized I couldn't fix this. No matter what I did, prom night was already tainted by their cruelty. But one thing was clear: I would make sure that Kelly knew her worth, no matter what Julie and Evelyn tried to do. This was their attempt to tear us down, but they didn't realize how strong we were. I was shaking with rage, unable to believe what was happening. Julie, my ex-mother-in-law, stepped forward, her chin raised in that same defiant way she always did when she thought she was right. "We're doing what's best for Kelly," she said. "That dress was inappropriate." "Inappropriate?" I shot back. "It's a prom dress, not some stripper outfit." I couldn't believe the words coming out of her mouth. Prom was supposed to be a magical night for Kelly, and here they were, tearing it apart. Evelyn, my ex-sister-in-law, quickly joined in. "We were just trying to protect her reputation." "You wouldn't understand," she said, her voice full of judgment, as if I was the one who didn't care about my own daughter. At that moment, it all started to make sense. Memories came rushing back: the rude comments about my parenting, the accidental spills on Kelly's favorite clothes, the times they had conveniently forgotten to pick her up from school. It was all clear now. They had been trying to control and sabotage her happiness all along. "You've always been jealous," I said aloud, the realization hitting me hard. "You can't stand to see Kelly happy." Julie scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Don't be ridiculous. We love Kelly." "Love? This isn't love," I fired back. "This is control and manipulation." Before I could say more, I heard a small gasp from the doorway. I turned to see Kelly standing there, her eyes wide with horror. She had just walked in on this entire mess. Her face crumpled as she looked at the shredded pieces of her prom dress. "My dress," she whispered, her voice shaky and full of disbelief. Tears began to well up in her eyes. I rushed over to her and pulled her into a tight hug. "Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry," I whispered, feeling my heart break for her. Kelly couldn't hold back anymore. She started sobbing in my arms. Through her tears, she looked at Julie and Evelyn. "Why would you do this?"
"Grandma?"
"Aunt Evelyn? How could you?" Her voice was full of confusion and hurt. Julie, somehow, still had the nerve to act offended. "We were trying to help, dear. That dress was much too revealing for someone your age." "Get out," I growled, my voice low but steady. I had had enough. "Get out of my house right now." Evelyn tried to protest. "But we were just out," I yelled, pointing to the door, my voice leaving no room for argument. Julie and Evelyn quickly grabbed their things and scurried out like the snakes they were. As soon as they were gone, I turned my attention back to Kelly, who was still crying. She looked up at me, her face full of worry. "What am I going to do, Mom? Prom is tomorrow, and my dress is ruined." I held her tight, trying to figure out a plan. I didn't know how I was going to fix this. It was late, and all the dress shops would be closed by now. But I couldn't let Kelly down. "We'll figure something out, sweetie." "I promise," I said, trying to sound confident even though I had no idea what to do. As I comforted Kelly, one thing became clear in my mind. Julie and Evelyn had gone too far this time. I wasn't going to let them get away with this. They had been manipulating us for years, but this was the final straw. They would face the consequences of their actions. But first, I needed to fix this dress situation. I had less than 48 hours to pull off a miracle. Talk about a mother's worst nightmare. Eventually, Kelly cried herself to sleep, exhausted from the emotional roller coaster. Once she was resting, I sat at the kitchen table, my mind racing. This wasn't just about a ruined dress anymore. It was about years of bullying and cruelty from Julie and Evelyn. I wasn't going to let them continue to hurt Kelly. I picked up my phone and made a call I hadn't planned on. I dialed Scott, my ex-husband, who hadn't been around much but still needed to know what was happening. "We need to talk." "It's about Kelly," I said. 50 minutes later, Scott was at my door, looking concerned. "What's going on, Lauren?" he asked, his voice serious. I filled him in on everything that had happened: the dress, the years of Julie and Evelyn's behavior, all of it. As I spoke, his face grew darker with every word. He had no idea it had gotten this bad. "We need to fix this," he said, his voice firm. For once, Scott was stepping up. We didn't have much time, but together, we were going to make sure Kelly's prom night was saved. The dress was ruined, but her night didn't have to be. And as for Julie and Evelyn, they were finally going to face the consequences for all the harm they'd caused. "I can't believe my own mother and sister would do this," Scott said, shaking his head in disbelief. "Believe it," I replied firmly. "And it's not just this. Think about when Kelly wasn't invited to Evelyn's kids' birthday parties, or when Julie accidentally spilled wine on Kelly's graduation dress." Scott's eyes widened as if a light bulb had gone off. "You think those things were intentional?" "I don't just think they were," I said. "I know they were, and we're going to prove it." That night, we spent hours calling friends and family, putting together the pieces of a much larger puzzle. As we started digging, stories about Julie and Evelyn's behavior over the years came pouring in. It was like opening Pandora's box. My friend Madison, who had known us for years, chimed in. "Remember when Julie told everyone Kelly cheated on that math test? I always knew that wasn't true." Scott's cousin Paul added, "Evelyn once told me Kelly was spreading rumors about my daughter. I should have known better than to believe her." By morning, we had a list of incidents spanning years. It was clear that Julie and Evelyn had been up to their cruel antics for a long time, and Kelly wasn't their only victim. We had enough evidence to confront them, but we wanted to do it the right way, so it would stick. It was time to call in some professional help. I reached out to my old college roommate, Cheryl, who was now a sharp lawyer. We met at a local cafe, where I laid out everything we had uncovered. As Cheryl listened, her face grew serious. When I finished, she let out a low whistle. "This is some serious stuff, Lauren. We're talking harassment, defamation, and with the dress situation, maybe even destruction of property. What can we do?" I asked, feeling both anxious and hopeful. "Well, legally, we could pursue charges," Cheryl explained. "But since it's family, there might be a better way to handle this without going through a long legal battle." That's when an idea hit me. The annual family reunion was coming up in 3 weeks, and everyone would be there, including all the people we'd spoken to. I leaned in closer to Cheryl. "What if we expose them in front of the whole family?" A slow smile spread across Cheryl's face. "Now that's an idea I can get behind. Let's plan this out." Over the next few days, we started working on the plan while helping Kelly get ready for prom. Thankfully, a 48-hour tailor and my emergency credit card saved the day, and we managed to get her a new dress just in time. As we took care of prom details, we also gathered everything we needed for the big reveal at the reunion. We collected photos, screenshots of text messages, and even security camera footage from my house, which clearly showed Julie and Evelyn with Kelly's ruined dress. Scott, determined to help, reached out to extended family members, subtly making sure everyone would be at the reunion. He didn't give away any details, but he hinted that there would be something important to discuss. Madison, who had been a huge help from the beginning, put together a slideshow of all the evidence we had gathered. Paul offered to be our tech guy, making sure everything ran smoothly on the big day. We wanted to make sure Julie and Evelyn couldn't wriggle out of this one. During one of our planning sessions, I said, "We need to make sure they can't deny anything or twist the story." Cheryl nodded in agreement. "I've drafted a statement that details all their actions. After the presentation, we'll give everyone a copy, so there's no confusion." As the reunion day got closer, I felt a mix of nervousness and determination. This confrontation was long overdue. Julie and Evelyn had caused pain for years, but they had no idea what was coming. It was time to put a stop to their toxic behavior, once and for all. The night before the reunion, Kelly came up to me, looking thoughtful. "Mom," she said quietly, "are you sure about this? It seems intense." I looked at her, knowing that she was worried about the fallout. "I'm sure," I said, my voice steady. "They've hurt too many people for too long. It's time they face the consequences of what they've done. This isn't just about you or me, it's about everyone they've manipulated and harmed." Kelly nodded, though I could see she was still processing everything. "I just don't want anyone else to get hurt." I hugged her tightly. "I know, sweetie, but this time, we're doing the right thing. We're standing up for ourselves and for everyone else they've hurt." She took a deep breath and smiled. "Okay, Mom, let's do this." The stage was set and we were ready. Julie and Evelyn were about to face the truth, and this time, they wouldn't be able to hide behind their lies. I hugged Kelly tightly. "Sweetie, sometimes you have to stand up to bullies, even if they're family. Especially when they're family," I said softly. Scott chimed in. "Your mom's right, kiddo. What they did to you isn't okay, and it's time everyone knows the truth." Kelly nodded slowly, taking it all in. "Okay, I trust you guys." As I laid out my outfit for the family reunion that night, I took a deep breath. Tomorrow would change everything. Julie and Evelyn thought they could get away with manipulating and hurting us, but they were about to learn how wrong they were. Scott, who was helping me plan, asked as he was leaving, "Ready for tomorrow?" I nodded, feeling more determined than ever. "More than ready. It's time to end this once and for all. Let the show begin." The day of the family reunion arrived, and my stomach was full of nerves. Kelly, Scott, and I got to the venue early to set up for our presentation with the help of Paul, Scott's cousin. As family members started arriving, I caught sight of Julie and Evelyn. They were all smiles and hugs, acting like nothing had happened. It made my blood boil to see them so carefree after everything they'd done. Once everyone was settled and the reunion was in full swing, I stood up and cleared my throat. Everyone, if I could have your attention, please. There's something important we need to discuss. Julie looked confused, but tried to keep her cool. Lauren, dear, what's this about? I took a deep breath. It's about the years of manipulation, lies, and cruelty that you and Evelyn have inflicted on Kelly and the rest of the family. The room went dead silent. Paul dimmed the lights, and the slideshow began. As the first video clip played, showing Julie and Evelyn cutting up Kelly's prom dress on our security camera, there were gasps from everyone. I continued. Last week, Julie and Evelyn destroyed Kelly's prom dress. The evidence was there for everyone to see clear as day. One by one, we went through incident after incident. We showed the snubs from birthday parties, the ruined clothes, and the rumors they had spread. With each new piece of evidence, the shock and disgust in the room grew. Family members were visibly upset, realizing how far Julie and Evelyn had gone. Evelyn jumped up, trying to defend herself. This is ridiculous. We've never done anything to hurt Kelly, but her words fell flat. The room was no longer on their side. Cousin Isabella spoke up. So, that's why you told me Kelly couldn't come to my wedding? You said she was sick. Was that a lie too? Uncle Timothy added. And the time you told me Kelly was talking bad about my son, that was a lie as well, wasn't it? Julie and Evelyn's faces turned pale. They looked around the room, desperate to find someone to support them. But there were no allies left. Everyone had seen the truth. That's when Cheryl, my lawyer friend, stepped forward, looking every bit the professional. What you've done to this family constitutes harassment and defamation. Not to mention the destruction of property with the prom dress incident. We have grounds for legal action. Julie, still in denial, scoffed. You wouldn't dare. We're family. I stepped forward, my voice firm and steady. Being family doesn't give you the right to treat us like this. You've hurt us for years, and you've hurt Kelly the most. Family is supposed to love and support each other, not tear one another down. Evelyn, now panicking, tried one last time to defend herself. We were just trying to look out for her. I shook my head. No. You were trying to control her. You were trying to control all of us. But not anymore. The room was tense, but the air was different now. People weren't just bystanders anymore, they were standing with us. Julie and Evelyn had finally been exposed for what they truly were, bullies, even to their own family. By the end of the reunion, it was clear that Julie and Evelyn had lost the support they once had. They left the event with their heads down, knowing they could no longer manipulate anyone with their lies. As Kelly, Scott, and I drove home that evening, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. Justice had been served, and we had stood up for ourselves. Kelly, sitting beside me, smiled softly. Thanks, Mom, she said. For everything. I smiled back. You deserve to be happy, sweetie. No one's ever going to take that from you again. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, Family doesn't do what you've done. You've left us no choice. The reaction was immediate. Other family members started speaking up, sharing their own stories about how Julie and Evelyn had manipulated them over the years. It was as if a dam had burst. In the end, we didn't have to press charges. The family decided for themselves to cut Julie and Evelyn out of their lives. No more invitations, no more contact. The truth was finally out, and everyone saw Julie and Evelyn for who they really were. Kelly's prom night turned out to be a huge success. She looked absolutely stunning in her new dress, which was even more beautiful than the one they had ruined. She was glowing with happiness. As she was about to leave for the night, she smiled at me and said, Mom, thank you for everything. I hugged her tightly, trying to hold back my tears. Always, sweetie. I'll always have your back. Later that night, I sat quietly reflecting on everything that had happened. I realized something important. Standing up to toxic people, even if they're family, is never easy, but it's necessary. We do it not just for ourselves, but for the people we care about. It was hard, but it was the right thing to do. And that's the end of Lauren and Kelly's story. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think Lauren was right to expose Julie and Evelyn's behavior to the entire family? Or should she have handled it more privately? Is it ever okay to confront family members publicly when they've been toxic? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion could help others who are dealing with similar family conflicts. If this story resonated with you and you want to hear more like it, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more real-life stories like this to light. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.